GrokTALK.
Few things are as important as finding the right doctor. And under Obamacare, that's harder than ever. Over a third of our hospitals no longer available. Our doctors no longer covered. Fewer choices, longer drives. No state has been harder hit than us. And even after watching it impact New Hampshire, Congresswoman Ann Custer still supports it. Call Ann Custer. Tell her Obamacare isn't working for New Hampshire.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GrokTALK.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com.
GrokTALK.
Everybody's looking at the sign and following along.
It speaks well.
Need a bigger sign.
Well, that's just it.
Boat.
We had to fit just so much. And we have bookmarks that look just like that, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching on the live stream, and we hand them out. You don't even have to ask. Just, here you go. Take a bookmark.
Take several. Give them to your friends.
Give them to my kids. Tell them to put them in your text messages.
Hey, you guys didn't tell me Annie Custer was going to be here today.
Oh, yeah. That's right. She is.
Oh,
Look, Annie's here.
The empty chair is back.
Annie's back.
Nice to see you.
She's here every week. There's a whole room full of her over there. Just empty chairs all over the place.
There's the sign.
It's like a meeting. All right, welcome back to GrokTALK. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy, Susan Olson, and Mike Rogers. By the way, I had an idea for a new bumper, just a little blurb, because I was thinking about, jokes. An Irishman, an Englishman, and a Scotsman walk into a bar. Well, it's an Irishman, an Englishman, and a Scotsman walk into a radio studio.
GrokTALK.
There you go.
But I'm Swedish.
You don't look Swedish. You look Murphy.
Taxameka.
Yeah.
He'd rather claim to be Swedish than Irish. What's that say?
His last name's Murphy. That's a hard one to pull off.
Yeah, my grandson was amused the other day. We drove past an insurance company. Proprietors were Murphy. Can you insure against that?
Nicely done. With all the talk that seems to keep bubbling up every once in a while about reparations, that the United States government has to pay reparations to all the blacks for all of the injustices they did to folks that have been literally turned to dust at this point. My grandparents came over at the end of 2 centuries ago. Not during the Civil War or before. But I keep saying, well, who's going to pay reparations to either side of my family? Because one or the other was enslaving the others as slaves. The Vikings would come over to the Fair Isle and take some of my ancestors' hostages and slaves and everything else. And then the retribution came when the favor was returned. So who's going to pay me for all of that?
It's actually better than that, because when the Irish first came to America, the mix couldn't get work.
That's right. My Irish...
My father was old enough that he actually had to live through that.
Yeah,
so
my grandparents lived through
no
that.
Irish need apply.
Irish need not apply in all of the storefronts back then. So, where's my discrimination money there,
He
folks?
got even. He had a good life. He lived into his 80s. He's a successful guy. He went to school in his 30s to get a degree, got an engineering degree, worked really well, had a house, a pool, and a house in Florida, and did all these things, and he was very comfortable. Yeah. So, screw you. We'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, well,
of course, he had the ability to do it himself.
Well, he had the motivation to do it himself.
Plus, he had the opportunity to do it himself. Not so easy now.
Right, and that was the point. Everyone has his abilities, greater or lesser, but equal opportunity is something the Democrats want to take away from us.
Yeah, and of course, the Irish had the last laugh afterwards because they basically took over all of Boston politics.
I don't think that's very funny.
No, it's not. Look what they did.
Yeah.
Well,
Lord.
All right, I'm going to say something.
Deval Patrick. I mean, come on.
Well,
he's Irish. Isn't Patrick Irish?
What?
You didn't think of that, did you?
Ooh. Well, unfortunately, they went to the Democrat Party and inhaled the Tammany Hall machine politics kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But at least Boston made out a whole lot better, other than some of the other big cities like Detroit, whose...
Was Detroit ever Irish?
No, but it was Democrat.
Still is.
Now,
I guess if there's any-
the problem with Detroit, of course, Detroit, is that it was
I like that.
is that it basically is a French Democrat creation. So that makes it the worst of all worlds. It was
So
it
did
was
they
probably-
close all the Targets in Detroit?
most of them have been blitzed out, I think.
And they probably
but-
we're out of here.
But there is a Massachusetts simulation in Detroit, because if you've noticed in Massachusetts, it seems like all of the last speakers of the houses of the Massachusetts House all go to jail. Same thing with the Detroit
They have their
mayors.
own wing at the prison. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I'm sure there's named after a couple of them.
We should just do
Yeah,
that.
the
Prison's named after me, not because I was good at anything, but because I stayed here.
Yeah, the cruelest prank I saw played, I think it was Detroit, was when Kwame Kilpatrick, or whatever his name was, went
Another
down.
Irishman. There you go.
Yeah. Well, like Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Apostrophe Obama.
Well, Kilpatrick's actually.
Yeah. One of the local talk show stations flew a banner over this. He said, "Mind the soap, Kwame."
Ooh.
That was pretty nasty.
My. Well, I used to like.
Rule number 1, folks.
Yeah.
He's probably running that joint.
I used to love Detroit. Back in the day, we sold metallurgical coal to Ford Motor Company up there at the River Rouge plant when it was open, and it was always great fun to fly in and to go through the mills there and drive through the coke batteries and see this stuff, being constructed from the ground up, from seeing the coal turned into the metallurgical coke to seeing it in a blast furnace, and you mix it with the iron ore and the limestone, and you get steel, and then you end up with cars at the other end. It was great stuff.
Yeah.
It was great stuff, and I just, it just, in less than 40 years, it's a ghost town. River Rouge plant, I think, is a shopping mall or something now.
Yeah. Much less than 40 years. About 25 years ago, I was in the downtown, and I was a little nervous, but basically it was pretty lively. There were clubs and stuff open and restaurants. The place is a disaster area now. It's a ghetto, or not a ghetto. It's a ghost town, and the outer suburbs are the only place where there's any life nowadays. Nice, pleasant, all straight roads laid out on a grid of beautiful little suburban houses and shopping malls and hospitals and schools.
Armed guards at Grosse Pointe, right?
Probably.
Well, here's the next thing that's so wrong, is that it isn't that they will blame their own leadership, the people that they've elected that have driven that town into disrepair and being a ghost town. You see in area after area, and this presidential administration emphasizes this. The folks who moved out to the suburban areas, they stole our money for the cities. So they blame the folks that left because of the policies they put in place. They won't.
Wait a minute, isn't that the New Hampshire GOP? Wait, aren't they blaming us?
Well,
that's the other thing.
They are
Stockholm syndrome.
but you.
Oh no! Stockholm syndrome says that you and I would feel sorry for them.
At some point, when we're being held hostage at the point of a gun,
they don't understand. We've turned the pitchforks on them for their policies.
I'm not sure they get that.
No, they don't. They haven't so far. But that's why.
Even if we were to depose them, they are have so consumed their own Kool-Aid that it is, I believe, almost impossible for them to. They'll always blame us.
Oh, sure.
Right.
It's our
we
fault
win,
if they lose.
if it's our fault if they lose. It doesn't matter that they don't do anything that they say they're going to do.
Well, thinking of disaster areas and escapes, there's a piece on Going Galt on Zero Hedge this week, and it was actually from Simon Black over at Sovereign Man blog. And what he was pointing out was that our national legislature is enacting bills which will punish people who try to escape the tentacles of government.
Absolutely.
And
That's the tax
how about
inversion.
this bill? No federal contracts for Corporate Deserters Act.
Yeah.
Or Pay What You Owe Before You Go Act.
How about back off 50 feet and bite me on the...
Yeah, or Fair Employment Opportunity Act. Or Equal Opportunity for All Act.
Or equal pay for women.
And yet they make fun of Ayn Rand and all of her books that basically predicted this. Now, I'm no Ayn Rand devotee. I don't like objectivism. I think that's entirely too selfish. But there are some nuggets in almost anything that you can read there. But you look at this stuff, and when the tax, and I had a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to write on tax inversions and never got to it. It's always like I don't have enough time to write it well.
Yeah, and I
But
just,
they
I
keep
just did a
treating
couple of
it-
short pieces. There's much more to cover.
Yeah, but it always comes down to they believe all the money belongs to them. And that's really the sad thing about it, that this country was meant to be free, that we could do as we want and benefit from it. And now the government says, no, they're worse than God. God merely asks. The federal government will send armed guards.
You bet.
Right. But God implores you to go forth and be fruitful in terms of both productivity and children, and he just expects that you will volunteer something back to him in return, and to be good stewards of the land, but basically get out of it what you can. What this government wants is they want everything that you produce and your children, and they wonder why people produce less, both in terms of goods and children as a result. And they don't want to give you any choice in it. So
But they're pro-choice.
But people will not.
Right?
Will not go forth and be fruitful
Yep,
because
their choice.
the government will penalize them.
Yeah. And then we swing back to Scott Brown again,
Snot Brown.
who
Yeah,
has
but-
basically said in his very verbose TV commercial how very pro-choice he is. He's more pro-choice, and now I'm going to say it, more pro-baby killing than Jean Shaheen. And this is supposed to be a Republican ideal?
That's pretty hard to beat because
And so let me just dissect that for a minute.
Ooh.
And this yes, I know in these days of Ebola, dissection's a bit risky.
let me get you
yeah,
a specula.
Yeah, Mr. Brown is a wonderfully nice man. However,
How do you know that?
some interactions, but the thing is that he is telling us he's going to be the strong, independent voice. Well, let's pick it all apart. Strong, yeah, maybe. Let's get to that. He wants to be independent of the party platform. Yeah, well, we already saw how that worked out. Strong, let's analyze that. When Jean Shaheen accused him of not being in favor of women's issues, he didn't
What
just...
is a women's issue? Please.
Yeah, exactly.
I have them all the time.
Yeah. Instead of...
What does that mean?
Instead of challenging the Democrat war on women, he said, basically, how dare you accuse me of being less pro-choice than you? I'm 100% pro-choice, and I'm pro-funding Planned Parenthood. If you are that easily pushed around when the Democrats put you on the spot, you are in no way a strong, independent voice for anything, and you're not even helping in the war on women.
But he agrees with his wife 100% of the time.
He's going to have to figure out a way to get more campaign donations from NARAL than Jean Shaheen, because they are her number one financer ever.
Tell people what NARAL stands for.
I don't know. They just kill babies.
National Abortion Rights Action League.
Thank you. Conception to live birth abortion. You cannot. They will not endorse you if you do not support the entire trip. You got to kill them from the beginning to the exit strategy. You got to get rid of them.
These are the stormtroopers for the feminazis.
Yep.
All right. You guys can't see this, but I was at Instapundit while you guys were talking. I decided it was time for me to shut up for a little bit. And
that's because we weren't letting you talk.
Yeah, Mark Andreessen, who is the big VC capitalist and basically started the first web browser, put out a tweet. Be honest, which guy do you really feel would do a better job protecting us from a viral epidemic? And he put up 2 pictures. There's Mr. Romney at a fast food place, hands in his pockets, just kind of looking through the sneeze glass. And then there's President Obama reaching over the glass to point out exactly what he wants. And now we're back to Ebola again. Yeah, so, there it is on the live stream, and thank you for letting me talk again.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's
kind of why we gave you a microphone.
Yeah. Neither one of them are going to do a good job.
I'm sorry, Mr. McDonald. I paid for this microphone.
Ooh.
Sorry, just a little.